What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 29th episode of the Big Five Pod. I am your co-host, Kyle Morello. This is co-host Jake Copestick. And Cope, this is the last episode that we are recording before the calendar turns to the third month of the year, aka March. How we doing?
I'm doing great. Obviously, you hit the head right. You hit the hammer right on the nail. We're almost in March now. Obviously, the regular season's coming to a close. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. And we had a absolutely bonkers finish to our last big regular season Saturday and regular season weekend. It was awesome. Tons of buzzer beaters. I was watching yesterday. Hunter Dickinson nails a three to push the Michigan-Wisconsin game to overtime. Michigan wins. They keep their bubble alive. Wisconsin, their bubble starts to look a little foggier right now. San Diego State with a potential outright Mountain West Conference championship, regular season championship on the line, nails a buzzer beater to not only probably improve their seed a little bit, give them a better shot to win the Mountain West. They essentially ended New Mexico's at-large hopes. Arizona State, if you saw their game, they had some new life on the bubble. They hit a half-court buzzer beater at Arizona to beat a rival, to potentially put them in the field, inch them a little bit closer. It was a great weekend of college basketball. So many exciting finishes. Florida State was like 8-20, went into Miami, was down 20 plus, hit a game winner at the buzzer. Like, what a bonkers weekend! What a way to end it. It's the greatest sport ever, and it always delivers. And if last weekend was any indication of what we're about to see, we are in for a great month of March. What a weekend we had! So many exciting finishes, great games. It was awesome. So that was a lot. I mean, what a weekend we had in college basketball to finish line here. As conference tournaments actually start tonight.
Yes, conference tournaments start. Obviously, recording this on Monday the 27th. Conference tournaments start tonight. I believe the Atlantic Sun, their tournament starts tonight.
Go
And not
Bella.
only that, yes,
Let's go
yes.
Bella.
Which unfortunately they're not eligible for the tournament, which is a stupid rule that we're not even going to get into. We're going to waste too much time on that if we do. But the craziest thing, honestly, probably about the weekend was the fact that Michigan State blew a 13-point lead with a minute 34 left to Iowa, forced the game to go to overtime, and ended 112-106, which is not a score you see in college basketball very often. Just a crazy weekend, just an absolute crazy weekend. And we're going to go over some of the games that happened in the Big Five this weekend because it was a little crazy for us too. And we're going to start off with another upset. Villanova, second straight team that was ranked that they were facing going to the matchup that they beat. They beat Creighton this time at the Wells Fargo Center, 79-67. And this was a wire-to-wire victory for Villanova, which is definitely not something that I saw coming. One thing that you did see coming was Eric Dixon be able to get something going offensively, even though he's given up some height to Kalkbrenner. He didn't give up some size, some strength. And he did not in this one. 31 points, 11 of 15 from the field, 6 of 8 from three. Just an outstanding performance. Maybe one of his best this season, if not his best this season. Cam Whitmore, another strong performance, 17 points on 5 of 8 from the field. Mark Armstrong with another nice game off the bench, 11 points on 5 of 7 from the field. The Wildcats shot 50% from the field and almost 41% from three, whereas Creighton only 39% from the field and 19% from three. I believe it was 5 of 26 from the field, or from three rather, for Creighton. And no turnovers really in this game. 9 combined turnovers between the teams, 6 for Creighton, 3 for Villanova. Listen, they played a wire-to-wire, damn near perfect game. Nobody ever plays a perfect game, but they played a damn near perfect game against a team that has been ascending. They're a really good team, this Creighton team. Even though they had that mid-season stretch of losing 6 games, or earlier in the season stretch of losing 6 games in a row, they've been climbing back up in the standings. They still have national title hopes. This is a team that I could see making a run going to the Final Four at least, and they did what they had to do against this team. This was a really, really impressive victory for Villanova, which is now 2 straight, like I said, against ranked opponents. And I think there's a little bit of steam to this Nova team heading into the Big East tournament.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Two straight ranked wins. Not really going to get into anything too big on the Big East tournament because I did see that if standings hold, they wouldn't have to play Providence, UConn, or Marquette until the championship game because the teams currently on their side are Xavier and Creighton. So I I'll put that out there. Obviously, we'll worry about that bridge when we get to it. But this is a terrific game from them, like you said, really wire to wire win. Kyle, we've been screaming and clamoring all year to play Eric Dixon. And if that's what you want and you're us, and that's what you've been screaming for, you got exactly what you wanted in it. Not only was he able to score around the basket, but he was able to do that because he knocked down a couple early threes. He had Ryan Kalkbrenner guessing and jumping to the 3-point line. Kalkbrenner, big guy, a long guy, but not really somebody who's swift and agile to be able to slide with somebody from the 3-point line all the way to the basket. So when he's lunging out there trying to defend these 3-point shots and is guessing, Eric Dixon was able to take advantage of that and drive by him a little bit. So that was huge because not only can Eric Dixon drive in and get some easy buckets, but now you pull Ryan Kalkbrenner away from the basket and you open up the paint for other people. So he obviously had a spectacular game doing that. Another thing I loved in this game, you think about Villanova as a whole. Last couple generations of players, Jalen Brunson, Colin Gillespie, Ryan Archidiakono, they were great facilitators and scorers on the block and in the post. They had Justin Moore get the ball, whether it was off a ball screen, whether it was in the paint. They ran some stuff through him. He was able to kick out. He was able to score. They're so much better. They're a great free throw shooting team, not so much a 3-point shooting team. Gun all the threes, try and go to the basket, get on the line. They had a bunch of drives in this game. Cam Whitmore, Justin Moore. They had 34 points in the paint in this game, which was huge. So not only did they have a good game shooting, but they got quality shots because of inside-out game. They were able to score inside at will pretty much. So offensively, pretty much every facet, it was a great game for them. And then defensively, they kept up that great defensive energy, ball pressure that they had in the Xavier game as well, and they brought that over to here. Flying around on defense, they were denying Ryan Kalkbrenner the ball. I said they had to make him catch the ball out pretty far, and he's going to score some baskets. He's just so much bigger than everybody on this team. But they didn't allow any easy entry passes. They got some deflections on post entry passes, which was big for them. They also caught a break because with Ryan Kalkbrenner's ability to catch lobs and in the pick and roll and look for him, he draws a lot of people that help deep into the paint, and you have some open shooters. They got lucky on some 3-point shots that missed. First half, Creighton was 2 of 13 from 3. Nova was 7 of 13. Creighton shooting below 20% from 3. Good for 5 for 26 in this game. So one team was hot, one team wasn't. Nova, pretty much every area in offense had it going. Defensively, they brought over that same energy they had in the Xavier game. That's how they got this upset. So starting to build some steam here. Again, I'm not, after seeing 2 games, I know they're on a good streak here. I'm not ready to say automatic bid just yet, but this is another great game where they had to show up. They did in a big way. We're going to keep building some momentum, and I think they have a pretty winnable game coming up this week. So overall, another terrific game. They built off of what they did at Xavier, and they got their second straight ranked win. So they're healthy. Longino, Justin Moore, Cam Whitmore, we're completely healthy now, and we're seeing just how good they can be. So another great win for Nova as we get to the home stretch here.
Yeah, I mean, more than likely than not, they're not going to get an automatic bid, right? I mean, there's just too many great teams in the Big East, but they've now proven that they can beat a few of them, and hopefully they can keep that going. They've got some tough games coming up here in the last 2, which is crazy to say that they only have 2 games left, but in the last 2 games coming up here, so it'll be interesting to see. But they're definitely building momentum, and you never know what happens when you get those 5 days in the conference tournament. So you never know what can happen. So we'll see. All right, moving on. We have a team that we know is going to be contending for a conference title in their conference, and that is the Penn Quakers beating Dartmouth 89-79 at home on Saturday. Jordan Dingle, 27 points on 8 of 14 from the field. Max Martz had a really nice game, 18 points on 7 of 11 from the field, and Clark Slackert, 17 points on 5 of 8 from the field. This is an insane number. They shot 61.5% from the field. That is insane. And 17 of 18 from the line, which is definitely nothing to sneeze about. Both teams did have 15 turnovers, which isn't great, but obviously they were able to hold on. They got nice scoring, contributions from more than just Jordan Dingle, which we always talk about as a key to victory with this Quaker team. And now they have a huge game with Princeton coming up, which we'll get to more later in the week, because that is on Saturday. So they don't play during this week. That's their last game of the regular season, is at Princeton on Saturday. But right now they are tied with that Tigers team and Yale at the top of the Ivy League standings We know those are going to be the top 3 teams in the Ivy League tournament. The 4th one is still to be determined, but this could be a huge, huge game coming up. But more about this Dartmouth win, Cope. What happened here?
So yeah, obviously they shot the ball very well. This Penn team continues to play up tempo a little bit. They just had a very, very vastly improved shooting game from the last time. When we were previewing this game, I talked about when they had to go up to Dartmouth. Jordan Dingle, Clark Slacker, a combined 9 for 30, 1 for 14 from 3. This game, they were 13 of 22 combined, making 6 of their 13 threes. They also had 4 steals. So a vastly improved shooting game. You talked about the numbers they had. Dartmouth defense really couldn't stop anybody. But also what I'll get into is that Penn really defensively, they have to be a lot better as well. Senior day, they got to honor Lucas Monroe, Michael Moshkovitz, Jonah Charles, and Max Lorca-Lloyd. Won a pretty class move by Steve Donnie, who started all these guys. Michael Moshkovitz, actually, guy who we don't talk about a lot, scored the first 4 points in this game for Penn. That was nice to see. But, not only do they have a good 3-point shooting game, they were able to score inside. Nick Spinoza was able to bang down low and get some buckets for him. And when they can get Lucas Monroe and Max Martz the ball on the blocks, especially on a mismatch, Lucas Monroe doesn't really need it as much because he's just a bigger, more physical guy. They can score inside out. They have some options that can score in the block and power their way to the basket. So it was they complemented each other well with their outside shooting kickouts because they were also able to score inside as well. But what I'll get to defensively here is Dartmouth stayed in this game for one reason, and that's because they were able to have a lot of success shooting the ball from the 3-point line. And sure, they were knocking down, I guess, some tough looks, so to speak, but a lot of these were wide open. Penn has to be better defensively. What happened here was they get up early. You give the team confidence like that, they're going to keep shooting, and they were able to hit a bunch of open ones. They were overhelping in the paint, trying to double team Dame Delican from Dartmouth, who had a really good game. And what happens is when you try and double, they kick out, they hit threes. Well, now you got to stick to shooters. And now what that causes is a big guy like Dame Delican down deep in the post. He's gonna you leave Nick Spinoza and Max Lorca-Lloyd on an island, have to guard him 1-on-1. So it was kind of pick your poison here. They were making threes to double the post, they would stick the shooters and play 1-on-1. And it just seemed like defensively, they never got into a huge rhythm here. And if you want to beat Princeton coming up here and you want to win the Ivy League tournament, you have to be a lot better defensively. So although this was a great game for them on offense, they kind of got whatever they wanted. Everybody, whether it was Dingle, Slacker, who's been heating up, which is going to be key for them. Lucas Monroe had a really good game. Although we don't talk about him scoring a ton, he makes winning plays everywhere. 13 points, 10 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals. Max Martz, another really good game. And he's really been an X factor and a key player as they've been really hot here. But 8 in a row for the Quakers. Offensively, it was great. Obviously, they're happy with the win. But defensively, they have a lot of work to do. They can certainly be better. But regardless, now that if they weren't, I believe they were already locked in the Ivy League tournament. This win solidifies that and seals that. And now we have a huge, huge weekend coming up as far as seeding goes, because if Yale wins, I believe regardless of the outcome of this game, Penn and Princeton are going to play each other. Oh, and I think to win the Ivy League, obviously, whether it's the first round or the second round, you're probably going to have to play Princeton. 2 of their next 3 games for Penn are presumably. They have a huge game coming up, but they were able to win this one and at least put themselves in the running that if they win their next game, they could potentially get the 1 seed in the conference. So seeding this was huge, but another win, 7 straight in the conference, 8 straight overall. Can't ask for anything more than the Quakers. They closed out their last game at the Palestra with a big-time win. So good for Penn, and they're staying hot.
They are staying hot, absolutely. And I think one thing, too, that we maybe forget a little bit about this Ivy League tournament is that it's being hosted at Princeton this year. So not only are they traveling to Princeton on Saturday, they're going to have to go back there next week to play, or right before obviously the bracket comes out. It's that weekend. They're going to have to go back there and play Princeton at Princeton likely again. So this matchup will be interesting because not only they're trying to vie for the 1 seed if Yale obviously loses and they get some help that way, and they take care of business against Princeton, but also this could be a preview of something even bigger, and they're going to be able to test the waters in that environment too. So this is a very important game for them coming up, but a great win for them against Dartmouth. Yes, defensively they'll have to tighten up a little bit, but they've shown that they can before, and I think they'll be able to against Princeton. So we'll preview that though a little later in the week. Unfortunately, now we're gonna get to a couple A10 losses here. The first one being a game that was a blowout at one point, but LaSalle actually made it close in the end. They lost to George Washington at Fottigy Bottom, 92-85. Very high scoring game. Deshaun Shepard, 14 points on 5 of 10 from the field. Fusini Drame, 14 points on 5 of 14 from the field. Josh Nickelberry, 13 on 5 of 11 off the bench. Khalil Brentley, 12 points, but not a great game. 4 of 17 from the field. Really, really tough shooting day for him. It was not a tough shooting day for George Washington, though. 58.6% from the field and almost 43% from the three, which is outstanding. We've talked about James Bishop IV a lot on this show. 29 points on 10 of 19 from the field. So a couple of times that we've talked about him, he's been below his scoring average. This time he went above his scoring average. LaSalle only 9 turnovers in this one. Not too bad. George Washington had 12, so at least they won the turnover margin. But when the other team shoots almost 57% from the field and almost 47 or 43% for three, it's going to be hard to win games. And it was definitely a struggle for them in this one.
Yeah, you can't give up that many points straight up. I know you're going against a really prolific scorer in James Bishop. And last time that we had talked about these two teams when they played each other, he and Brandon Adams both struggled when they had to go up to Tom Gola Arena. But much like the last segment, we were talking about how Jordan Dingle, Clark Slacker had a rough game against Dartmouth and they had to go up there. And then when they were at home against Dartmouth, they were improved shooting. These guys want to combine 16 to 33, 5 11 field goal attempts, 3-point attempts, 12 assists. You mentioned the 29 and 9 assists from James Bishop IV. So, you throw that in. They had a really hot shooting day. But how about the bigs for GW as well? Hunter Dean, 21 points and 8 rebounds. Ricky Lindo filling up the stat sheet, 16 points, 11 boards, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. This isn't a very deep team in GW, but the guys they had out there really only played 6 in this game. But the guys that were out there all gave them quality minutes, all scored a bunch of points. And because of that, you end up with a score like this. And it's not like LaSalle shot the ball too poorly. I mean, they were just a notch under 40% from three, 40% from the field. Not great. Obviously, you would like to get that up, but only got to the line 14 times, and they only shot 8 of 14. So there is that. We talked about free throw shooting before, but they had some good performances by some guys off the bench. Deshaun Shepard continues to. He just it seems like he gets better every game. He's getting more consistent. He's getting better every game. So you like to see that, but rough game from Khalil Brantley. You'd like to probably see Brickets pour in a couple more points, but Rokas Yotuts, another pretty solid game from him. 5 of 7, had 10 points and 5 boards, but pick and roll defense wasn't great here. They had some guys get wide open and miss some coverages and allow some layups. So that's certainly that's to be desired for sure when you're giving up bunnies and you're giving up easy ones. They got to clean that up. Mamadou Dufour, I really didn't play in this game. It was a lot of small ball. There were Rokas Yotuts out there for them as far as bigs go, but gave up too many easy ones. They got beat by the bigs of GW, as well as the guards. Just can't give up that many points. I know you're on the road. Shame because this LaSalle team is playing well. They won 6 in a row, and I believe this is now their 3rd loss in a row. So they're going the wrong way at the wrong time, unfortunately. They did score a lot. You just can't give. I don't imagine you would win many college basketball games if you're going to give up 92 points. And I'll leave it at that. As they lose this one at Foggy Bottom, which unless they play GW, unless St. Joe's or LaSalle plays GW in the conference tournament, probably the last time I'm going to say Foggy Bottom on the show. So I did.
There you go. Exactly. So that is, or at least for the season, but that is unfortunate. Tough loss, but like you said, unless you're Iowa and you bounce back from a crazy scoring output from MSU, and you're not going to win a lot of games when you let up 92 points in college basketball. So tough one for LaSalle, and they've gone a little bit cold, and unfortunately, so has this St. Joe's team as well. We previewed this past weekend that them going up to Olean was probably not going to be good for them, and it was not. They lost 89-76 in this one to the Bonnies. Didn't really affect Eric Reynolds that much. 33 points on 8 of 16 from the field. Lynn Greer also had a really nice game. 21 points on 7-11 from the field. So the two of them combined for 55 of their 76 points, which great individual performances. but as a team, not really what you want to see. Definitely want to see more contributions there. And also better defense because they let Daryl Banks III do whatever he wanted. 36 points on 10 of 18 for the Bonnies. And another great shooting percentage from a team facing Big Five teams. They shot almost 57% from the field, whereas St. Joe's, not bad, 44%. You could definitely do better. You could definitely do worse, but I mean, Bonnie shot 57%. That's pretty good. They also shot almost 43% from three as well. So great shooting game from them. St. Joe's had 14 turnovers. Bonnie's had 13, so they narrowly lost that turnover margin. And they're also out rebounded 31-23, which does not help anything at all. Honestly, I wasn't expecting the game to be as high scoring as it was, but we knew it was going to be tough sledding for them. And unfortunately, that ended up being true in this one.
Yeah, another thing I want to point out here, no Eduque Obina for the second straight game. And then Kasper Klaczyk, who would come back from a 6-game absence from a non-COVID illness against VCU, had to miss this game due to an ankle injury. And I had talked about, when we previewed this game, not having Eduque Obina was going to be huge when you have to go up against a big like Chad Venning who's a big burly guy who can score down low. Then you add in the fact that you're down Kasper Klaczyk, and on a normal game day you're down your two big guys. That's a recipe for disaster. So it's not like Chad Venning was, had a Daryl Banks game here, but 5 for 5, he didn't miss. He had 13, led the Bonnies with 6 rebounds. So, and they really missed that inside presence. But yeah, I mean, if you like scoring, you were treated to a show here because Daryl Banks had a career high 36 points. Eric Reynolds had a career high 33 points. Seemed like they couldn't miss, and it was really just them kind of going back and forth at times. But season high 89 points from the Bonnies. The defense just wasn't really there. We've talked. I mean, the 3-point defense from St. Joe's, we've worked on it all year. It's just a problem. Teams have been able to shoot very high percentages on them, and you saw that again here. Moses Flowers, who played all 40 minutes, Jan Farrell did as well. Both of them shot 50% from the 3-point line with their attempts. Flowers going 2 for 4, Jan Farrell going 3 for 6. So they didn't defend the 3-point line well. The size hurt him inside, and they had a great game from Eric Reynolds. Lynn Greer had a really good game as well. 21 points, 7 boards, 3 assists. Rest of the team had 22 points. Now, obviously, that hurts when you have your two bigs out, but unfortunately, another rough game for Cameron Brown as well. He started out the season in conference play so hot, and unfortunately, he's just kind of getting into a funk at a bad time in the season. So hopefully, he can snap out of that. They only have one regular season game to go though, but good game from Reynolds and Greer. Put up a good amount of points, but you could tell the size was huge. They also got a rebound at 31-23. But 3-point defense haunted them again. Size inside really killed them. That's 4 straight losses for them now too. So unfortunately, another L for St. Joe's, and they only got one more left before, it's win or go home at the A-10 tournament.
Yeah, one more left indeed. And if they want to not go home at the A-10 tournament, they're going to need Cameron Brown to step up because he has been huge for them at parts of this year, and lately has not been the case. Though Lynn Greer had been really cold to start the season, and he's been turning it on the last, month or so or more. So great on him. But yeah, they're going to need some more from Cam Brown if they want to keep it going. Keep it going into March. All right. Upcoming games for the end of February and the first 2 games of March. Here we go. All right, LaSalle, Tuesday night at 7, traveling up to Dayton to take on the Flyers. And this Dayton team we've talked about before. They're pretty good. One of the better teams in the Atlantic 10 Conference, though that is not saying a ton this year. But they're 73rd in KenPom, 101st in offense, 47th in defense. And some things they do well. 41st in effective field goal percentage, and on the flip side, 7th in defensive effective field goal percentage. They're 48th in free throw attempt per field goal attempts, and they're 19th in that category on the defensive side. They're 24th in 2-point percentage, and they're 6th in defensive 3-point percentage. So this is a fairly balanced team, definitely better at defense, but not bad offensively by any means. We've talked about them before. They've had some scares against some of the not as great teams in this conference. They've also played some of the good teams pretty well too. So this is a little bit of an inconsistent team, but definitely a talented one. And this LaSalle team's been streaking in the wrong direction as of late. And because of that, I am going to go with Dayton here. I just don't see the Explorers, though they do have some talent. They had been playing well before this, up until those last few games. I don't see them going to Dayton and winning this one, unfortunately. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. And now that this team is back to full strength and fully healthy with Kobe Elvis and Malachi Smith coming back, won 6 of their last 8. Now they just lost at home to George Mason, but honestly, anything can happen in this conference. I mean, it's just so wacky. It's so inconsistent and pretty poor, honestly. So, although they just lost the game, trend wise, last couple of games they've been pretty good. I will say though, last year, LaSalle and Dayton played at Tom Goal Arena around this time. Dayton was on the bubble, even though they were a young team with a lot of freshmen. They started to gel at the right time. They won some games, and I believe they were last 4 in, first 4 out, teetering on the NCAA tournament bubble. They go up to Tom Gold Arena for Senior Day, and they lose. LaSalle burst their bubble, and they ended up playing in the NIT. So I'm sure those guys are also going to remember that last year that they had to play against LaSalle, and they were their demise as far as not getting into the NCAA tournament. So yeah, that. And I also will say, look, I know this is UD Arena is known as a very tough place to play in conference play. LaSalle did win their last meeting. That was in December 2020. They haven't played there in a little bit. But they did win the last time that they went there. However, I don't think they're going to get a win here. You got to go up against the Ron Holmes, best big that they've faced so far as well. And especially if this is a game where you're not going to get a bunch of minutes from Mamadou Decore and you're going to put Rokas Yotsus out there, like probably not a favorable matchup there because this is one of the best players, if not the best, that he's going up against all year. And to go up against a team that is playing for March, they're on the bubble right now. I don't think it's anything more than a next 4 out or under consideration. So it's not like they're teetering right now. They're still kind of outside the field. But being a top team in the A10, they're going to really want this one. They're going to close out their season pretty soon as well. So unfortunately, I know, like I said, I know Dayton just lost to George Mason, but 6 of their last 8, they're trending up a little bit. They're fully healthy. Now lost a couple games in a row. Dayton's at home. They feel like they can win a while. Look, anybody can win the A10 this year, but they're one of 5 teams at the top that I think realistically can obviously do it. So I'm going to roll with the Flyers as well and agree with you. Just a bad spot for the Explorers here.
Yeah, it is a bad spot because this Dayton team really wants to, flex their muscles a little bit going into conference tournament play. I think they have one more after this, but they're really going to want to put a statement on this LaSalle team, especially as revenge for last year, like you mentioned. So, yeah, give me the Flyers in this one. All right, moving on. Villanova looking for their 3rd straight. Well, this isn't a ranked opponent, but looking for another great Big East win. They're going up to North Jersey to take on Seton Hall. That is Tuesday night at 8:30. Believe it or not, I think this is the first time in a while that we're talking about a quality team in the Big East that Nova's actually ranked higher than in KenPom. Seton Hall is 74th in KenPom. Nova's actually up to 62 now. So definitely not bad. This Seton Hall team, though, under Shaheen Holloway, you know what they're all about. They're all about defense. They're 190th on offense in KenPom, but they're 16th in the country in defense. 37th in defensive field goal percentage and defensive turnover percentage. Offense, like I said, a lot of red. Not a great offensive team, but defense is really, really where they get after you. They have lost 4 out of their last 5, which included their loss to Villanova a few weeks ago. So 2 teams kind of going in opposite directions here. I think the last time we talked about the Seton Hall team, they were in the 50s in KenPom. And I think Nova was either in the 70s or 80s or something like that. So 2 teams definitely go in different directions. And I haven't picked Nova in a while, but I do think I am going to pick them here. I know it'll be a tough matchup going up to Seton Hall, playing against Sheen Holloway's defense, but the way that this team's been playing, especially if they can keep going through Eric Dixon like we've been talking about and preaching for, maybe Kyle Neptune's been watching the show. I don't know. We'll see. Especially having Justin Moore back, too, and him getting into a really great groove as he has been lately. I'm going to go with Wildcats here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you as well. Seton Hall. Now this is I believe this will be a close game, very low scoring game, much like the last time these 2 teams played that I was at the Wells Fargo Center, ended 58-54. I think it's going to be a classic Big East game, low scoring, a lot of defense, guys diving on the floor, very physical. I think it'll be a classic Big East game for sure. But it's not like Seton Hall is laying down here. I know that they're kind of going in the wrong direction at the wrong time, but they just got waxed on their home floor by Xavier, who's still missing Zach Freemantle, one of their best players and starters on the team that's not that deep. So they're going to be upset. This is a team that at Seton Hall, like you said, they're all about defense. Offensively, it'll come and go. Not a ton of shooting. They're going to drive. They're going to try and get to the free throw line. They're going to try and get offensive rebounds and bang down low and be physical. So it's not a terrific offensive team by any means, but for a team that also lost to Villanova to kind of start the streak that they're on, they're going to be upset about that as well, I think. So I'm going to take Villanova because they're going in the right direction. They're fully healthy, and they look like the Nova team that we're accustomed to. They're playing inside out. They're getting into the paint, pick out threes, extra passes. They're starting to look like the Nova team that we've come to know over the last couple of years. So as Wildcats are rounding into shape here, I'm going to take them to go up to the Prudential Center and win, albeit a very low scoring, very physical, classic Big East matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think, going to be low scoring. Which honestly, a lot of Nova's games have been. I know Creighton wasn't that low scoring. They put up 79 points, but a lot of their games recently have been fairly low scoring, and I don't think it's going to be any different. This is a tough defensive matchup for them, but yeah, give me Nova, a low scoring game. I think it'll be close, and I think it'll be a very exciting one up there in North Jersey. Alrighty, the last game of the regular season for the St. Joe's Hawks. That is crazy to say. Going to Richmond, though, Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And this is a Richmond team we saw recently. LaSalle beat them a few weeks ago at the end of their winning streak. But not a bad team by any means. 158th in Ken Palm. One thing they notably do is they're not a very fast-paced team. They're 293rd in tempo, according to Ken Palm in the country. So they definitely like to slow it down a little bit. 349th in offensive rebound percentage. Definitely not something they do well, and definitely something that could play into St. Joseph's hands, especially if Educate Obina plays, and especially if Kasper Klaczyk plays, which we don't know if they will be at this point. But if they do, definitely a huge advantage for them. And if they don't, maybe it could be something that can remedy their lack of size there. So we'll see what happens with that. A couple other things, they're 90th in turnover percentage. So they do like to take care of the ball a little bit, and they're 80th in three-point percentage, which could be something a little bit problematic against the St. Joe's team. As we know, it does not defend the three-point line very well. With that being said, I do think I'm going to go with St. Joe's in this one. And I know they haven't been playing very well lately, but I think it's a good matchup for them. I think this is definitely a team that they can beat. And I know it's on the road, which will be tough for them, but they've played well on the road before. And I think they can do it again here against Richmond. How about you?
So this game's actually be played at St. Joe's. Senior night for them. Going to be at Hagen.
Damn it!
But you're probably watching. I think you're looking at too many soccer box scores. You're getting messed up,
dude. I might be. I might be. Chelsea's been really bad.
Yeah, I think you're looking at too many footy box scores, and you see the top team, and you think that's the whole team. But
I'm a footy guy now.
For them. So here's how I look at this game. If we're gonna have no Educate Obina and no Kasper Klaczyk, I'm gonna take Richmond. Because although very unfortunate situation, we talked about the Chris Mooney deal. I believe he's actually getting his heart procedure sometime in the next couple of days here. So we wish him the best with that. But late in the season, they're without the coach. They have a huge center inside in Neil Quinn, a big 7-footer, a big strong dude who the last two games we've seen St. Joe's get dominated by Jalen Deloach and Chad Benning. That'll happen again if they're going to be without two of their front court players. Also talk about this, a team that shoots pretty well. They don't defend the three-point line pretty well, and I don't imagine that on a quick turnaround it's just going to get better. So, yeah, to the fact with size down low, if they're going to be without their starters, I'm going to take Richmond here. However, if St. Joe's is fully healthy, I'm going to roll with the Hawks. It's just everything hinges on the health of Obina and Klaczyk. They got a legitimate NBA prospect and Tyler Burton on the wing for Richmond, who can shoot, who can score, who can finish with his length and his athleticism. But for me, that's what it comes down to. No Obina, no Klaczyk. I'm going Richmond. If they're in, I'll actually take St. Joe's to get it right here for their last regular season game at Hagen. But it all depends on that. So as soon as that information becomes available, we'll pass that along to you guys. But I can't take this after seeing the last two games for St. Joe's. I have to believe they're going to get dominated again by Neil Quinn if they're going to be without their bigger body. So everything here hinges on the injury situation.
And that's fair. I mean, this is especially against this Richmond team. You're going to need that size, but I just think with their deficiency in offensive rebounding, I think this is something where St. Joe's can take advantage, and hopefully they can step up and stop Richmond's 3-point shooting. They do, even though I did mention when I thought that they were on the road that they don't play bad on the road, they play even better at home. So I think that plays in their hands even more. So we're going to be on opposite sides here. I'm going to take, well, if they're fully healthy, I know you're going to take St. Joe's, but I'm going to take them regardless. So we'll see what happens, but should be a good game at Hagen on Wednesday night. All right. Temple back in action after about a week off, I think it was. They are home against UCF Thursday at 7:30. And this UCF team was a team that they beat down in South Florida or down in Central Florida. Nice. A few weeks ago. But two teams that I don't want to say they're going in opposite directions, but Temple's definitely not been playing well lately, and UCF's been right in the ship a little bit. They're 63rd in KenPom, 90th in offense, 43rd in defense, 22nd in offensive rebound percentage. They're 27th in defensive turnover percentage, which definitely obviously is something that could be a cause of concern because Temple does like to turn the ball over a little bit. They are 63rd in 3-point percentage and 33rd in defensively in that category. And they're 30th in free throw percentage, which Temple is also very good at. So two teams that are pretty good at shooting the ball from the charity stripe. I think this will be a tough matchup for them, honestly, the way just that they've been playing. And, Caleb Battle, still haven't really heard anything about him. So assuming he won't be suiting up in this one, obviously, if things change between now and Thursday, we will let you guys know. But I am going to roll with the Knights here. I just think that it's not going to be, they had the momentum last time. It was after the Houston game, but before the Houston loss, obviously, and they had been playing really, really well at that point, and they have not been playing great lately. Obviously, they had the tough loss to Cincinnati, which, it's not the worst thing in the world, but before that, they had dropped a few straight before the Tulsa win as well. So I'm going to go with UCF here, which is an unfortunate way to end Temple's home season, but I do think that is what will happen on Thursday night. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Unfortunately, it's a team that's going to play 7 guys. Maybe Akpomo plays a little bit here, and they play 8. But last time they played, Caleb Battle played 35 minutes. This game went to overtime. It almost blew this game, by the way, because it didn't box out on a rebound, and this game shouldn't have even went to overtime, but it did anyway, and it blew it. But Caleb Battle, 7 of 14, had 26 points in this game. Bailed him out with some incredible shot making when it really did. So there wasn't a lot of it for them in this game. So I'm gonna roll with the Knights here. They're just a hard team to back when you don't have that. That is I call them lightning in a bottle. When you don't have that in your back pocket, it's like, okay, well, if we're struggling shooting, we have a guy who can turn it on and be instant offense for us. You don't really have that, and if you're not going to get that from Damian Brown, I don't know who's going to give it to you in this game. Now, Jamil Reynolds did have a big game. It was a revenge game for him. 16 points, 5 boards, 7 and 9. Playing against his former school, obviously. They're going to need a big game out of him and Damian Dunn if they want to have a chance here. But they're also on a bit of a losing streak. It's unfortunate, man. We have 2 teams in the Big 5 that are really hitting their stride and playing their best ball as the season comes to an end here. We have 3 that are just kind of going down the drain right now, unfortunately. And one of those teams, unfortunately, is our Temple Owls. So I'm going to roll with UCF here, a good defensive team, a team in Temple that is not going to be able to put up crazy offensive numbers without Caleb Battle. I'm going to roll with the Knights here. It kind of pains me to say that because I did see these Owls. I said, hey, they're on a bit of a winning streak. Maybe we can keep it going. We can sprint through the finish line here, and that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like we're going to crawl to the finish line more than we're going to run through it with our Owls. So I'm going to roll with UCF to unfortunately end Temple's regular season games at home with an L.
Yeah, I do think it's going to happen. It's unfortunate because I think the way that they were going, now I wasn't expecting them to beat Houston again, but if they had beaten Memphis and obviously they didn't lose to why am I blanking right now? Who do they lose to though? Oh, SMU. They didn't lose to SMU. Like they were on a trajectory to be in that even at large conversation, even though they had dropped so many games early on in the year. And it's just unfortunate the way this has turned out. They had lost 4 straight at one point, and then obviously to beat Tulsa and then a tough loss to Cincinnati. So it's unfortunate how this season has ended here for Temple, but hopefully they can get a win against UCF at home to end the season at home, right? But I don't think that will happen, and I do think UCF will come out top in this one. That's pretty much all we got, though. Anything? Any final thoughts for you?
Uh, no, hey, well, I'll see you at the Catholic League Championship game tonight. Very
Yep.
excited. Going to be a little bittersweet though, because that'll be the last time in the Palestra for a while. I was at the Penn Dartmouth game Saturday for their senior day and last home game, and then obviously with the Catholic League Championship, this will be it, unfortunately, for the Palestra. So I'm going to enjoy being there tonight. I'll take it all in one more time. It's a great atmosphere. I know it's going to be my first Catholic League Championship game was last year. Your first one's going to be tonight. You're going to have a great time. Sold out Palestra. It's nothing like it. Nobody does high school basketball or basketball in general, in my opinion. Quite like the city of Philadelphia. So excited to get down there tonight for that. As far as college goes, we are starting conference tournaments, and we're here. We're here. The best part of these sports calendar, in my opinion, is upon us. ASUN tournament starts tonight. Florida Gulf Coast plays Queens, and then North Florida and Bellarmine, I believe, are playing. So let's go Bellarmine. Why don't or Queens though?
Or
Queens
Queens?
also new to D1. How about we stick it to those suits at the NCAA and the teams that are even in the transition periods? We win the conference. Anybody, whether it's Merrimack, Queens, uh, Lindenwood in the Missouri Valley, I think, who's new at D1. They just won on a buzzer beater the other day to get themselves
Yep.
in the conference tournament. So anybody who's new to D1, let's stick it to the suits. Let's win our conference and make them change that rule that's so dumb, and that it's like we have a rule in place just to have it. It's not
Nope.
really like it doesn't really seem like there's even a reason to have
It
it there.
serves no purpose.
Yeah. I'll stop right there. Let's go Bellarmine. Let's go Queens. But yeah, we're here. Best part of the sports calendar's here.
We are here, and the next time we will be talking to you guys will be in March. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, we appreciate your support throughout this entire season. So, thank you for that, and make sure you subscribe and like our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on our social media channels on Twitter and Instagram at Big Five Pod. And of course, make sure you tune into our audio only versions on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And yeah, it's the best time of year. So let's get into it, and we will see you guys next time.